There we go. Hello, everybody. Now I can see you. Thank you very much for joining us here on the Ravery Sports Podcast, our comprehensive preview of Maryland football roster and key players 2024, our Terps preview. So we're going to talk a little college football today, a lot of college football, obviously, in the stream. Like and subscribe to all of our social media content here. So if you're watching this now, we always premiere it first on YouTube and Twitch and X. So thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you very much for checking us out here on this Sunday evening, the last Sunday before the Terps season starts. Thank you very much for joining us here. I did want to say one thing first. Obviously, today this is a Terp stream, but we do want to push our condolences over to Joe D. For those of you who don't know, that was the Ravens offensive line coach for a long time. Unfortunately, he passed away today. So Raver Sports definitely gives our condolences to the entire Baltimore Ravens family, entire Joe Sanders family, everybody involved with the Baltimore Ravens as well. This happened apparently suddenly. He was just coaching not that long ago here, just at the beginning of camp here. So definitely we want to pass along our condolences as well. So now we got that there as well. Also to Genesis Notary Services live stream is coming up. That is our notary business here, September 2nd. So Labor Day. So we're going to do our Genesis Notary Services live stream. Definitely, if you live in the Shenandoah Valley area, definitely check it out. We're absolutely more than happy to have all of you Ravery Sports check it out. But definitely, different audience, different live stream. We're going to be talking about the notary business that's going on right now. If you live, especially if you live in the Shenandoah Valley area, you definitely want to check it out. See Charles Harris, we are LegalShield.com. Definitely, that is my Legal Shield business. The value of it is tremendous. If you're a business owner, if you're anybody out there looking and during these tough economic times, definitely you want to save some money on your legal fees. Absolutely do it, especially if you want a will done. Get a will done. I tell anybody, get that done, especially if you're young, no matter how old you are. Save you a lot of time, money, energy to go ahead. It is outstanding to go ahead and get that will done for you. Also, too, NFL football next Sunday, our NFL football preview, comprehensive preseason predictions. We're going to be talking about that. Almost done. Preseason is here. Preseason game coming up. Pre-game we're going to have for the Ravens and the Chefs week 1, the Thursday night opener as the Ravens beat the Chefs the first game. All right. Last thing, RaverySports.company.site. Definitely check it out. You can get Terps stuff, rocking a Terps hat, Ravens hat. You can get all this type merchandise on the website. Now let's get to the business. College football. All right, so 2024 Maryland Terps preview from Ravery Sports. A lot has changed, right? So last year, the Terps had an 8-5 record, have a couple years in a row with an 8-5 record. Kind of turned the corner of the school throughout the years. They had some bad years, but now you've had 3 years in a row of a decent record. Had a winning season, won the Music City Bowl last year. So what's now? Big differences this year. Couple things. Obviously, the guy that changed it around for you, your several years starting quarterback, Tulia Tagovailoa, no longer with the team. Obviously, did graduate out now. I don't think he's on the NFL team, but no longer there. So definitely one of the better quarterbacks in the Big Ten. And the Big Ten self has changed. So now you have USC, UCLA, Washington, and Oregon. The cream of the crop of the Pac-10, for the most part, has joined of the Pac-12. I said Pac-10. I'm just old. So the cream of the crop of the Pac-12 is now in the Big Ten. So that's going to affect the schedule as well. So let's go over that. Let's start with the franchise. Let's start with the Terps here, the coaching staff, real quick. Mike Locksley is back again as the head coach, 6th season as the head coach. Mike Locksley has turned this thing around. There's no question about it. he is going to be facing, I think, his biggest test going forward. Now having to do it without a quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa, going forward. Interesting to see how that is going to go. Offense is going to look different as well. Josh Gaddis, Kevin Suleiman, used for me to say Kevin Suleiman, is a offensive coordinators. You see two. This is more of a trend now in college sports, and a lot of times I think you're also going to start seeing in the NFL where it's not just one guy running the defense or running the offense. You got two. Brian Williams, his third season. Isaiah Abdul-Rahim is taking the reins as the co-defensive coordinator his first season for the Terps. The offense, we mentioned not having Tua Tagovailoa anymore. MJ Morris is going to be the starting quarterback, we think, here at the start. It is still ongoing. Coaches are not going to say. He hasn't said publicly. I don't see anything hint. Everything I'm seeing when I watch the spring practice, everything that's going on, I'm a believer is probably going to be MJ Morris. There's some smoke out there. It's Billy Edwards. Billy Edwards was the backup last year to Tua Tagovailoa, won the actual bowl game for them, looked decent enough. Also, Cameron Edge, I didn't mark him there, but I think he's the third string, has shown some promise. We really don't know yet who's going to be the starting quarterback. MJ is the passer, right? So he's a little green. He's a sophomore transfer from North Carolina State through the transfer portal. I think that's the direction they're going to go. Billy Edwards, I think, still has some ways to go as a passer. Definitely more of a runner. I think you'll see a little less passing, not really accomplished yet as a passer. Cameron Edge, I think, has a good throwing arm, but still has a ways to go as a thrower. One of those, I think, will be the starter. I think also, too, you got to keep in mind, unlike NFL or anything like that, they may not decide this year. One of the reasons why they're not saying anything, possibly, besides gamesmanship, and coaches are like that, they're not sure yet. It's not uncommon in colleges when you have a situation like this, they'll go into, you may not know till October, right? So, if you have Tua, you have a definitive starter, but they may not know yet. They'll play him in the first game. You certainly may not find out in the first game anyway. So they'll go in, they'll kind of look at it as the season goes and make a decision, whoever sticks out at time. Especially the first month. Schedule's rather easy, so you should have won a lot of games anyway. So we may not know. I believe it'll be MJ Morris at the start in the first game. Roman Hemby was one of the best players, right, as far as the running backs in the Big Ten last year. I think it was kind of funny. He kind of had to split carries a little bit. Kind of fell off later in the year, but I think he's gonna eat all he wants to now. I think with Tagovailoa gone, they're gonna be relying more on him. So it'll be interesting to see that. Maryland had great receivers last year, outstanding. Ja'Shawn Jones is gone, but Caden Prather and Ty Felton were outstanding last year, I thought. They're both seniors, and I think this is one of the better receiving groups in the Big Ten. The thing is, do they have a quarterback that is going to be with them and throw the ball to them, right? So how much opportunities they're going to get. This, obviously, you figure with Tagovailoa gone that you're going to have more of a run offense, that you're going to be running the ball a lot more. So if you do figure that is the way it's going to go here at the start for them, they definitely have outstanding receivers, a good veteran group. Kyle Long is the returnee from last year's offensive line. Kyle Long is going to start at left guard. So these are kind of the best ones there. Their offensive line is pretty much transfer portal. So they pretty much rebuild it all, but Long is the returnee. He's probably also, I think, the best offensive lineman as well. Defense, I thought was kind of overrated last year. I thought they have a good secondary. I think it's going to look that way again. But I thought the pass rush I wasn't happy with despite the sack total. They had a lot of coverage sacks because they had a good defense. They had a good secondary players. Ruben Hippolyte, I think I have him at the top of the list. I really like him. I think he reads coverage as well. I would like to see him move to edge personally because I think he's an outstanding passer. So I really think they're kind of missing it a bit, putting him at middle linebacker. But this is kind of the defense that they run. It's kind of risk adverse. They kind of don't blitz a lot. They kind of not as aggressive. So having him in the middle, they're going to see a lot of blitzes up the middle with him. He's very, very good against the run. Very good at snuffing out runs. Very good at beating defensive linemen, tight ends, etc., like offensive linemen, tight ends, etc. So he's outstanding. The secondary is probably good again. Dante Trader last year I thought was good for them. He's a senior. He's very good. Quayshawn Fuller I think is probably, they would say he's their best defender on the outside as far as getting sacks. A lot of upside potential. They're very, very quick there. Glendon Miller, the senior, he's definitely going to take the spot of Corey Coley from last year. The big defensive tackle, Jordan Phillips, lots of potential there. Definitely, he's a guy that can be one of, look, Big Ten has a lot of good defenses, so it doesn't hurt to have a guy like Jordan Phillips help stop the run as well. You can't talk about college football anymore without talking about the transfer portal. That's the thing. Like, who went in, who came out, and back and forth. So Jashar Parham, he's going to be starting at Michigan this year. So definitely he's going to go ahead and be one of their starters. So that's a loss. A lot of people think he's better than what and I don't want to bash Parham. I heard a lot of people tell me last year that he was the better player, the best defensive player on the Terps. I didn't agree. I saw Bo Braid. I thought he was a tad inconsistent, but like, he's going to a team now, he has to do a lot less. Like, tremendous athlete, fit right in Michigan. Corey Dyches, I thought, was a good tight end for him last year. He went to California. Corey Coley goes to North Carolina State. What came in? MJ Morris, we've already talked about him coming in from the Wolf Pack of North Carolina State. He's going to came in to be a full-time starter. He's going to get every opportunity to start. Josh Kaltenberger from the Purdue Boilermakers. The Boilers go ahead and Terps go ahead and get a center. This is a decent transfer portal acquisition for them. Their whole line is going to be rebuilt. So we're going to find out early in the season with the first game what this is, what their line is actually going to look like. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Isaiah Wright, he's a guy familiar with, obviously, MJ Morris playing there last year, coming over, probably starting for them at, I would say, right tackle, but that's not out there quite yet. Questions for the Terps. 5 biggest questions for the Terps this season. Who's going to start at quarterback? Obviously, when you have a new quarterback, who's going to start? MJ Morris, Billy Edwards, Cameron Edge. I don't think we're going to know at the beginning anyway. I don't think we're going to know. When it all shakes out, when the season is over, I think MJ Morris, I think they're hoping that he can develop and become their best option as well. He's an excellent athlete. He's the only one, I think he's the best run pass op of the two. Had the most experience as far as throwing the football. I thought he wasn't great, super great when he played, but I think he's got a good cast here. I think they'll go ahead and develop around him. It is going to look different, I would definitely say, from Tulia Tagovailoa as well. Billy Edwards, I think, also is going to get an opportunity to start. I think there's a very good chance all three of them will play early. If I would say it's going to be MJ Morris by the end of the year, it's possible Billy Edwards gets the first start when they play UConn. We'll see. But I think it's going to be MJ Morris by the end of the year. This cannot playing Michigan and Ohio State prove the record. It will. No question. Like, I know how tough the Big Ten is. I know we'll go over the schedule here in a second, but that was killing them. I mean, they were, you talk about Penn State and Maryland, they're the two happiest people, happiest organizations, happiest schools, that they no longer have to be in the divisions. The divisions were scrapped. We'll go over that. But there were two East-West divisions. Maryland was in the division with 3 top 10 teams, Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State. So it was very difficult to beat them. So they're not playing them at all this year. So that's only good for their record. I don't know if they have as good a team either. So that absolutely helps as well. Who is the best player on defense? We're going to find out more, obviously, as the season goes. I really like Ruben Hippolyte as far as that goes. I think I already said it. I'd rather them move him to the edge they're going to play him in the inside. Kind of fits the scheme when they actually do it right up the middle. But I think I think he'd be a tremendous edge rusher on this team. I think he's definitely I could see him. I don't think he's going to get picked high in the draft, but definitely he's got NFL talent on him. No question about it. I think he's probably the one for sure. I think with the NFL, where the NFL sure scouts are going to be looking at him. Will the Terps beat new Big Ten teams, USC and Oregon? Oregon, no. You're not beating Oregon. Oregon is top notch. I think Oregon, might be the best team in the country as well. Oregon has NFL players all over the field. USC is actually better than I actually think they're better than a lot of other people do. I really like USC. I think you're a little closer with USC. I don't think they'll beat USC either. I don't think they're not going to score enough points to beat USC. I think last year they could have. I think with the quarterback situation the way it is now, unless MJ Morris really can develop, really become what it is. But as it stands right now, I can't say that you would beat USC as well. And can the Terps make the new 12-team playoff? So 12 teams down, no longer 4 teams like that. We had the BCS, we had the college football playoff era. So now we're in the 12-team playoff era. I don't think they're not going to play. I think that's a bit much. I think going to a bowl is not out of the question. They're still going to have bowls. I don't think that's out of the realm at all. But I don't think they're going that far yet as far as in the 12-team playoff. What do the games look like? Who are they playing? So let's go ahead and take a look at that. The times and of everything are not set in stone. So these networks nowadays really determine when they want to play and what time. So the networks it's to be determined in a lot of cases. Big Ten has games on Fox. Big Ten now has games on CBS. So you're going to see them in both areas as well. But interesting. Like last year, they got off to a great start. I think they should again. We'll talk about that on the podcast this week. They're going to play the first game against UConn, rather. Jim Mora Jr. is the coach, former coach of the Atlanta Falcons. Dad has the famous line, the playoffs. The playoffs. Jim Mora was the coach. He's been there. I think this is third year at UConn. Bit of a track game. They should win this game, but I think this is being more of a contest than what they think. So looking at the UConn squad, looking at Maryland, where they are right now, I don't think this isn't playing Towson or Howard or whatever. They should win, but they need to be woke from the beginning. I don't think this is just going to roll it over as well. UConn also too got a huge shaft. When the basketball team went to the Big East, they were just kind of left out in the cold. So rumor is they're going to the Big 12. So we will see about that. Michigan State. I think this is definitely another win, playing Michigan State at home. I don't think Michigan State's a whole lot there. I think Maryland should win this game. I think this is another situation where they should win. 3:30 Big Ten Network on the 7th, as it is an old ACC rival, ACC Network that didn't exist when Maryland was in it. I don't think it did. It would have been Raycom Teleproductions at Jefferson Pilot, but he was old enough to remember that. Against Virginia. Virginia's not real good. I think they've definitely had their struggles. I think Maryland again. But again, I don't think this will be a little tougher than it's been. So Maryland doesn't have to pay attention. They don't have the offense that they used to have, but they should win this game on the road. This is more of a cupcake here when you're playing Villanova, a team that's not in the FCS. So definitely, I think Villanova, you should win that game. Next one, Indiana. Indiana's primarily at the bottom of the Big Ten. I think they're slightly better, but again, I think this gives the chance the Terps to get off to a 5-0 start. You want to be in the video?
Hi, Ravery Sport. I'm gonna make my dad pull this gum. Here. It shocks you.
There you go. Yes, Big Ten football and shocking gum in the video for y'all today. All right, little stupid, silly humor. All right, I did not plan this. She keeps interfering with the video. Illinois. So after a bye week, Northwestern. So this game is on a Friday night, Terp fans. That'll be on Fox. Fox now that WWE is gone on Fox on Friday night this year. They're going to have some Big Ten games on Friday night. This is going to be one of them at Northwestern. Northwestern was probably one of the best reclamations I ever saw last year. The circumstances that they were in, so the fact that they came around was incredible. So I don't know if we win this game. Hopefully we can. That'll be a big test for them. Now the real tests begin. USC at home on the 19th, the following Saturday. USC, I can't ever remember them playing a game at Maryland. They have to come all the way cross country. So Maryland might have an advantage if this game starts at like 12 o'clock Eastern. So that would be a pretty big advantage for them. This is what you're going to see now. Big Ten, these long trips. Big Ten now in 3 different time zones. So it'll be interesting to see. I like USC better than what a lot of national people like them. I think their offense is going to be outstanding. Outstanding. Can they get enough defense to actually bridge the gap? But they're gonna score a lot. So I don't know if we win that game. Minnesota should win. This would be a toss-up. Minnesota's again kind of where they've always been, a lot of average. They're pretty good, but they're not great. Kind of in the middle, kind of where Maryland is in the Big Ten. I think Maryland's a little bit better, but we'll see how they go on the road there. Oregon, I think probably a lot of teams have them at 1. I don't quite have them at 1, but they're definitely top 3 in the nation. Dylan Gabriel, I think, is a Heisman Trophy is a Heisman Trophy candidate, transferring from Oklahoma to Oregon. So we will see there. Tough. That'd be tough for Maryland to win that game. That'd be one of the biggest upsets of the year. Playing Rutgers in a way that's kind of their de facto rival, because they kind of joined the Big Ten at the same year. Played them a lot. Greg Schiano is going to come in as well. Very similar in football and in basketball, Maryland and Rutgers. I think Maryland's had more success than Rutgers, but interesting to see that. Iowa Hawkeyes, again, the great Kirk Ferentz, you know what they're going to have. You know they're going to have great defense. You know they're going to be physical. They're going to hang around the top 25, and they're going to have no skilled people. So Maryland has a decent enough shot in this if they can go ahead and get their skilled people going at some point. Penn State, I think, at Happy Valley, going to be very, very tough for the Terps to win. I think Drew Aller, I think, is a sensational quarterback as well. How does the Big Ten look overall? Okay, so we kind of went over the games. This is what the Terps competition is going to look like. So let's go over this here as well. I have Ohio State 1. A lot of people have Oregon above them. I don't necessarily. I don't think Ryan Day is maybe. It's crazy to say as good as they've been. He's fighting for his job, but he kind of maybe it kind of feels like maybe they got Jim Harbaugh gone, that they're out of there. They did lose Kyle McCord, transfer portal. I think that's weird considering how good they were that he wanted to leave. They got Will Howard. They're a K-State transfer, so he has looked pretty good so far in practice. They have outstanding edge with Jack Hard, JT Talamalu, I think, last year. I definitely think these guys are going in the first round. They had the best wide receiver in the college football last year, Marvin Harrison. Emeka Buga, who was his Emeka Buga, I think I'm saying his name right, was his right-hand man. I think he might be one of the best, if not the best this year. Denzel Burke is the Denzel Burke, I think, on defense. I think they're stacked on offense and defense. I think the reason where I think people have Oregon above them is the Dylan Gabriel transfer. So Dylan Gabriel was an outstanding quarterback at Oklahoma last year, but I think there's a little worry about Will Howard to see if he can actually take advantage of all this. I think he absolutely can. Oregon is no slouch, though. Dan Lanning, I think, is the head coach. I was actually a little bit surprised they lost to Washington in the last game. I think they have at least 5 guys they're looking at as far as I don't think they're quite as talented overall as Oregon, as Ohio State, but I definitely think they're great in the right spots. Dylan Gabriel, I think, is definitely a Heisman candidate. I think he's the Heisman favorite. Jabbar Muhammad on defense, I think, is really good as well. The cornerback. So I think they're right there. I think there's pretty good separation between those two. Penn State is about where they've been. So I think Michigan slides down a little bit, but Penn State is still by third. Drew Aller, I think, is outstanding as a quarterback. I like Drew Aller for when I saw it. I think I'm a little surprised that he's not more thought of him. I think he's excellent athlete, great throwing arm. I think they don't really throw as much. I kind of like it's not their fault. It's Penn State. I think there's still a lot of that old school there. James Franklin on the hot seat again. That kind of happens when you keep losing to Michigan. But again, I think they're really going to benefit from not being there. I definitely think these 3 can get into college football playoffs. Abdul Carter on defense he could be the number 1 pick in the draft. One of the best outside edge rushers. He's going to play full-time edge rush for them this year. It's interesting to see how that goes. I'm going to surprise some people having USC above USC above Michigan and Iowa, maybe in some cases. I like USC. Miller Moss, the reason I like him, I think Lincoln Riley, the buzz with Lincoln Riley, not to pick on it, but Paul Feinbaum, the fact doesn't like Lincoln Riley. He doesn't like Jim Harbaugh. I don't know what to say about it. I don't know what to say, bro. He's like the Skip Bayless of just so far off the reservation. This guy's offense are terrific. Last year, the offense was terrific again. Defense kind of broke down. There were some issues there, and they had some line issues, but I think that was the reason. But I really like their quarterback, Miller Morris. I think really he can be in the Heisman candidate as well. I think definitely they have a wide receiver. They have, I think, maybe Zachariah Branch might be one of the best X factors in all of college football. Johan Meinheim, I think they kind of is kind of the linchpin of the line they fixed. I don't know how good their defense is going to be, but I do think this is probably the best offense in the Big Ten. They're going to score a lot of points. If they can get the defense slightly better, and I think it should be as well, I think the schedule will be a little bit easier. So I think that's the other thing as well. I don't think they're going to have to the schedule, I think, is a slight bit easier than it was in the Big Ten. By the way, Pac-10 was outstanding. They had a lot of tough games. So there's no disrespect to the Big Ten, but it'll be. I think they'll feel a bit of a breather with playing the bottom of the Big Ten. Michigan, I have them at 5. Michigan still has a lot there. I think they're defensively, they're really good. Sharon Moore now takes over for Jim Harbaugh. I think they definitely have defense there. Mason Graham and Keth Grant, I think, are the best maybe D-tackle combination in the country. Will Johnson, I think, is probably an NFL first rounder, probably on their defense. They have our guy, Raven fans, Wink Martindale, running the defense. So you know they're going to blitz a lot. You know they're going to do that. So I think, though, I'm not a believer in their quarterback, Alex Lurie. I think offensively, I don't think they're at the same level as those 4 teams. I think there is a pretty big drop. A lot of people like them. I could be wrong, but just watching what I've seen, I'm not a big believer. Colston Loveland, I think, is the safety valve, the tight end for them. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes. But I don't think they're going to score enough points above the first 4. Iowa is kind of where they've always been. They have Kurt Ferentz as the coach. They have great defensive players. They're going to have players in the NFL. I think they have Nick Jackson, and they have Nick Jackson and Jay Huggins definitely on the Butkus Award watch list. So they traditionally have tremendous linebackers. Sebastian Castro, I think, is a good safety for them. Cade McNamara is going to play quarterback for them. If he can keep him healthy, he was the guy that beat out J.J. McCarthy. I don't know how good they're going to be. I think they're kind of where they always are. They're going to hang around the top 20, maybe get up to 10-9, win a bunch of games in a row, and then when they play teams with good offenses that can do something with the defense, they're going to get beat. So it's kind of like they're kind of like where they've always been, but that's still better than most of the Big Ten. Wisconsin Badgers, I think, are there as well. I think they're at 7. The Badgers, Luke Fickell is going to be the head coach. Tyler Van Dyke transfer over from Miami. So they always talk about scoring offense, but I kind of like put them in the same category as Iowa. They're kind of always in the same spot. They always kind of wind up, well, we're going to throw more. We're going to do this. We're going to change things. But they wind up kind of running the ball, still kind of the same deal. I think probably the same. Defense is pretty good, but they're about 7 in this conference. A little bit of a jump here from Matt Rule's Nebraska Cornhuskers. It's true about the corn. If you've never been to Nebraska, there's corn everywhere. When I was in the Army over there, I was like, oh man, that's true. You're doing runs and corn and everything in Nebraska. It's true. Dylan Raiola, I think is the talk. They're going to be starting a 5-star true freshman there. That's one of the top draft picks, not draft pick, but one of the top high school players. So this is a bit of a thing. They had trouble scoring last year. Their defense was good. They have lost some players, but they're counting a lot on the freshman. He did win the starting job going into this. Definitely got that pedigree. His dad played in the NFL. Dominic Raiola center for many years for the Lions. So interesting to see how that goes. But I think it jumps him up a little bit. I really think he is going to go ahead and help him. Judd Fish is now in at Washington. Washington, you couldn't have a better season except for winning the national championship, getting to the final game, losing to Michigan, now going over to. All right, we're back. All right, Kalen DeBoers is gone from Washington, so they've lost a lot. Michael Penix, a lot of talent, went to the NFL. Will Rogers is kind of going to be their new quarterback. Their transfer from Mississippi State. So they got a lot of lead to lay. I think there's still enough talent on defense for them to kind of finish in the top half, but I think it could be worse than that. But I'm gonna be nice and I'm gonna put them at 9. I think that's probably right. They probably make a bowl game, but that's about it here. Like second half of the 18-team Big Ten, the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers. Greg Schiano is back as the head coach of the Scarlet Knights. Definitely, they've had some. I like Scarlet in terms of when Greg Schiano, you know what the identity is. Athen, I pronounced it wrong last year. Calamanis, a transfer from Minnesota. So he was the Minnesota Gophers quarterback last year. Now he's going to start for them. They're going to run the football. They probably have the best running back in the entire Big Ten. Kyle Mungwana, I think is the name. I think I'm mispronouncing that as well. He led the Big Ten. He had over 1,200 yards rushing. He was outstanding last year. That really fits the identity of their team. Definitely defensively, I think they're a bit overstated, but that's kind of why they're there. A lot of good defenses in the Big Ten. The Terps at 11. I don't think they finished very high. I think their offensive issues are not going to help. They're going to have to figure that out. I think their defense is also not good enough to beat the really heavy artillery teams in this conference. It's going to be an issue. I think the defense is kind of good for most of the country, good for most of college football. I think this is the Big Ten where the best defenses are. I don't think it's good enough. I don't think they're aggressive enough. They might have the worst quarterback too, unfortunately. At least it's a start when you talk about MJ Morris and Billy Edwards. So I think they got some work to do on the offense. I don't think they're going to score enough here. Minnesota's kind of where they've always been, like 12. I think they're a little bit behind Maryland. PJ Fleck, I think, is going to be the coach again for them. They, again, have some talent. Estrie is going to be their first-round pick possibly in the draft. Air Estrie for the offensive tackle. Max Brosmer from New Hampshire. This guy was very impressive at New Hampshire. Now, interesting to see how they could step up in class. They really weren't happy with the Rutgers quarterback. That's why he kind of transferred out. So Max Brasmer, I mean, this guy, like when you watch him, when you figure like, okay, he comes from a smaller school, very impressive from what I saw. So definitely not necessarily stepping down in class. So again, kind of those three, not enough points as well. UCLA, I kind of don't know where to put them. Deshaun Foster is going to be the new coach. Ethan Garber is finally going to become their starter. The 4 years he was there, this is going to be his first as a starter here. So good for him, finally getting the starting job as well. Played at the end of last year, first full season as a starter. I think the knocks on USC are kind of because of UCLA, because they kind of rolled them in the last game. I think there's a lot of backlash to the Trojans. So I think because of the Bruins rolled them last year, I think there's a little backlash to them. They're about 13. I think they're building up a lot. Kind of same Illinois. I'm putting Illinois there at Illinois behind UCLA. Brett Bromwell is going to be the head coach. I think I don't really see them getting to a bowl game. I think now we're to the teams that are probably not going to get there. Luke Altemeyer going to be the quarterback. I think he was decent enough last year as well. Dylan Rosselek on defense, I think, is probably one of the better, most slept on players, I think, in the whole Big Ten. I really like him at linebacker as well. So they have something there, but I don't think they get past that. I think that's kind of where they are. Down here a little further, the Wildcats had a horrible situation last year. Terrible, the Wildcats, what was going on with them. So shout out to the Wildcats. Even not being at the bottom here, they actually got to a bowl game. They actually did better last year than anybody thought. David Braun, obviously, because of that, is now the full-time head coach. Good for him. Taking on super difficult transfer. Mike Wright's going to be fun to watch. I don't know if it's going to translate to win. They had a losses. They didn't have a great recruiting class, but he's going to be fun to watch. Dual threat. They had a huge surprise last year, so we'll see. Trying circumstances. I shout out to them for that. Indiana, I have them a little higher than the bottom, even though they're at the bottom a lot. Here's why. I think the coach from JMU last year, I think, did a great job. So good for them getting Kirk Cinetti from James Madison. I think they won 10 games. I think it was a shock for Division I, so it was a good gift for them. Curtis Roke from Ohio, another small school guy, getting a shot at a bigger school. So he was also really good at Ohio last year for them. So those, like him and Brasmer, the step up in class is warranted because they really step out at you when you see them. Still don't think they have enough there on defense. I don't think they can match up defensively. Donovan McCulley's there, I think. Again, they have an outstanding kick return guy. I think their special teams should be good. Michigan State, still a bit of a mess. I think their Aiden Childs is going to be there. He's the transfer from Oregon State, just like the head coach. Jonathan Smith is there. They had 23 transfers in the transfer portal. I think that is the most in the Big Ten. I think they're going to have Cal Holiday as well, transfer. I think he was probably the best player on defense. I don't think they have enough on either side to actually compete. And the Boilers, I think they're running up the rear. Rex Walters, I think, is probably in some trouble. A little stop. Houston Card is going to start for them again at quarterback. Dylan Thiesman, I think, on defense. Safety, that's about all that's there. They should bring up the rear. I think like the bottom three, they're going to be the bottom three. I don't know. Maybe I got the order wrong, but as well, no winning record, no bowl, no nothing for those three. All right. So definitely Terps first game is against UConn. So definitely check that out on the channel. We're going to be talking more about that this week as well. So I just want to thank all of you for watching us today. Thank you for watching our Maryland Terps preview college football as well. Go Terps. First game is on Saturday. Tell all of your friends, like and subscribe to Ravery Sports Podcast. Thank you very much for joining us